So Dad was the firstborn in 1935, and what was he like as a kid?
Your father?
Mm-hmm.
Spoiled rotten. He was. But when he was born, there were 13 of us grown-ups living in that house where Aunt Esther does. At one time, they had that
In
restaurant.
that little place they ran the restaurant? There were 13 of you living there?
Not that house. The restaurant was in front of it. They tore it.
But the house was bigger in the back?
Jim built it
Mm.
out of the garage that went with the house and other material.
Grandpa built it?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, he could build anything.
I didn't know he built houses.
Yeah. Well, just for...
Not as a career, but...
No, but he built a house for us behind it, too. And then we tore it down and built a garage out here, but later we built that cement block one. But he built a lot. Well, he just made a restaurant out of that garage and what he built onto it.
So how did Dad get spoiled? There was a lot of adults around?
There was 13 grown-ups living in that house at the same time. They had curb service, you know, and it was like a small town.
Mm-hmm.
They really had the business.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't anything for them to have $100 day. But the sandwiches were only 5 and 10 cents.
Mm-hmm.
Your tenderloins were only 10 cents.
You have to do a lot of business to bring in $100.
You have to have a lot of business. It was just like a small town there. And they had the McGill brothers' famous pork tenderloins. Anybody that ever lived here knows all about it. You know.
Well, we had some for dinner tonight.
Yeah, but they weren't so good.
For lunch today.
They weren't so good because the buns weren't here to put them together right or anything.
So how was Dad spoiled? Did people buy him things or just give him a lot of attention?
Just a lot. They just passed them from one to the other, one to the other. I remember my grandma. She lived in a farmhouse out in the country, and somehow some plaster fell off on the way to Marcel.
Okay.
Some plaster fell off the ceiling and hit her in the head and cut her in the head. And I took him and went out and stayed with her for a couple of weeks out there when that happened to her. He was into everything. They had a cabinet with cookies and things down the bottom, always made cookies every Friday. They'd make cookies, sugar cookies and molasses cookies in big jars. He had all the flour and everything all over the floors. He was just walking then. I think he was 9 or 10 months old. He could walk at 9 months old. And he was into everything. And I can remember they had a calendar with a picture of a grasshopper on it. And that was one of the first things he said, grasshopper. But he knew he could. He was always smart. He was always smart. He probably don't tell you that, but he was. You know, he won the principal's award for the highest average of graduating class.
And
earning high school.
High school.
Because of anybody that had earned 2 letters, and he had earned in track and football, and he had the highest average of the graduating class. But he won't tell you that.
How many were in his graduating class?
I don't remember. Pretty big, pretty big. And then when he graduated, they offered him, I can't remember what it was, $2,000 or something toward going to college. You know, different people leave money.
University of Illinois?
Any college.
Anywhere?
Any college. They offered him. He said, no, I don't need it.
Really?
And the next day they offered him $3,000 or $4,000. He wouldn't take it.
Really?
They said, there's no strings attached to it. You don't have to pay it back. He said, but if I took it, I'd feel like I had to pay it back. And he wouldn't take it. He said, I don't need it. And he didn't take it. But his friend, Roger Severson, did take it. He was the next highest. He took it.
So he worked his way through college then?
Well,
or had he saved up a lot during high school?
We always made them save all their money. They got a lot of money given to them for presents and everything. And they always sold anything we had around here, berries, tomatoes, anything. And they got to keep all that money, but they had to put it in the bank. So they had bank accounts. Cheri and him both did. And so he had money, and then he worked too. And then we gave him what he needed, you know, too. And it didn't cost then, you know, anything like it does now.
So he graduated in 57 from the University of Illinois?
Yeah, 57. He graduated from high school in 53.
Okay.
Yeah. And I took Grandma to the graduation, and it was out on the field, you know. And we didn't know he was going to get that award.
For high school?
For the
In high
highest
school?
average, the principal's award, but he got it. I took Grandma that night. I used to take Grandma down to the University of Illinois to see him a lot, you know. And one thing, he lived in a fraternity house, and everything was so, it had to be just so, they had to be just dressed so. They had to be introduced to anybody's company and know who they were the next time they saw them.
That was Phi Gamma Delta.
Yeah, Phi Gamma Delta. It was really something.
So he had Dad pretty quickly. And
Yeah.
what was he like once he got a little older? Was he quiet, or did he talk a lot?
When he knew, yeah, he could, when he was 3, he could look on the blackboard with ABCs, you know, on it. And I taught him to say, A is for Andy, B is for Betty, C is for Chuck, D is for Dale. He knew every one of the letters and who they were for, and that. He knew everything. He knew. He's smart. But spent a lot of time with him. Then he loved books, all those little golden books. I bought every one they had for him and had to read them over and over and over. This little raccoon that loved sweet corn and butter and sweet corn and butter and sweet corn and butter. That was one of his favorites. And but he didn't settle down till he was maybe going into 5th grade.
Pretty hyper.
Yeah, he didn't behave that good. He was good in school, but he didn't behave. But you couldn't tell him that now, because from then on, he was a changed person. You know, he's like he is now.
He was a new man in 5th grade, huh?
Yeah.
So how was Cheri as a child?
She's good. She was good. I'll tell you, she could do anything she wanted to do. She's a real good cook. She works with on all the switchboards with all that paraphernalia. Has always for years, and that. What she wants to do, she can do.
Well, we've got some new visitors to the video now. We've got Jamie, my cousin Cheri McGill, Mike's daughter. And who are you, Scoot?
I'm Goose Goslin.
And this is Grandma's great-granddaughter, Michelle.
The oldest.
Aaron's daughter.
And your cousin. She's your
My
second cousin.
My munchkin cousin.
He's been interviewing me.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go back to we were on your grandma, Cheri. So you were saying that she didn't do much studying, but
She didn't think before she did things. I used to chase her around that table.
I must have got that from her.
Yeah, me too. The family trait.
you got
Yeah.
chased,
No, I never
or you
got
did the
chased.
chasing.
I never ever gave the kids, the boys, lickings except your father once, and
Just once, huh?
he remembers.
What was it he did?
Neighbor down the street, he had a boy his age, and he showed him how to, on the 4th of July, how to make a cannon out of gunpowder. And Jim got the gun shells out of the closet, and they made one of those. And that father came up here just raring. You know what they did? I said, well, you showed them how to do it. And I was so worried. They could have shot their fingers off, blinded themselves or anything. I went out and got a little switch off the tree, and I gave him a switch. And
Dad got a weapon, huh?
that's the only one. He'll tell you that.